Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. In our first video, in our preparation to migrate on-premise virtual machines to AWS, we established a secure connection using OpenVPN. And in today's video, we are going to migrate on-premise virtual machine to AWS. So to demonstrate this, I have VirtualBox running a couple of servers here on my local computer. So the one that we are going to migrate is Ubuntu server, which is this one, which is running a simple web application. So let me try to log in. And let's view the web page. So IP-A to get my IP address. So this is my IP address here. So I'll copy that. Let's view the web page in the browser. Paste that here. Right. So this is the simple web page that my server is hosting, and what we are going to do is to migrate this virtual machine to AWS. So we are actually going to do a rehost the virtual machine on AWS so that we can take advantage of all the benefit that the cloud offers. So what I'm going to do here is to shut down this virtual machine, power it off. So I'll click on File and I'll go to Export Appliance, and then it will bring me to this page. So I have different virtual machines here. This is the one I want to export, so I'll click on that. And sometimes you need to go in here to the settings. See, this is the file format that we are exporting here. So depending on the hypervisor you're using, the extension might be different. So I'll show you in a bit some different file formats that you can get for exporting your virtual machine appliance. So you're gonna click on Finish. So in my case, I've already exported the OVA file that I'm going to use. So if I check my working directory, I already exported mine here, which I'm going to use for today's demo. Right. So here are a couple of file formats that you can export your virtual machine into. So you have the OVA, you have the VMDK, VAD, and maybe a couple more. So depending on the hypervisor you're using, you have to export your virtual machine to one of these file formats. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a S3 bucket where we're going to upload our file into. So I'm going to go ahead and run this command. So the first command will create a bucket with a name migrate-bucket 003, and then the second part is going to copy the .ova file. Remember, this is the virtual machine file that we exported from the VirtualBox, and then it's going to upload that to the bucket. So let's go ahead and run this command. Right, so it's going to go ahead and start uploading. It can take a little bit to finish, so I'm going to pause the video, and once it's done, I'll come back and then we'll continue. The file has been uploaded, so let's check on the UI in our account. So my account, if I go to S3, so this is the bucket we just created. Let's click on that, and then in that we can see the file has been uploaded to the S3 bucket. So let's move on to the next step in the instructions here. So this code here is going to create this file in my current directory. So if you look in my current directory, I don't have that file. So this portion of the code will create a file called trust-policy.json, and then we use the next command to create the row on AWS. So let's go ahead and run the code. Run it from here. All right, you see this row has been created. Now let's check. So if I check, you can see a new JSON file here in my directory. So that's the first one. So the second one is to create a policy for this row, and this an admin policy that we are going to attach to this row. So let's go ahead and run the second command. All right, the policy has been created successfully. Now we are going to bind the row and the policy together. So let's run the next command. All right, that is done. So let's go to the UI and check if the row and the policy. So I'll go to IAM. I'll go to row. The name was VM. So this is the row here. You can see the policy has been attached to the row. All right, so let's go back to the instructions so that we can move on. Now the next step is to create containers JSON file with this content here. And here our file format is OVA. As we can see, that's OVA file. This is our S3 bucket name, and this is the file. So this is actually pointing to our S3 bucket. So we'll create this JSON file, and then we'll use this one to actually do the import. So let's go ahead and run that. All right, so this will take about, so here the status is active and this is pending. So this is what we will be looking at. We want this status message to change to complete, and it's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes to convert the virtual machine image to Amazon machine learning image, which is AMI. So all right, so let's go ahead and check the status one more time and see the status. All right, so now we see the status says completed, and then this will be the ID of the AMI that have been created. So let's go to my AWS account and check. So you see here we have so many AMIs created. Usually it should terminate some of them, but I'm not sure why it didn't terminate all of them here, the ones that were created before the final image was given. So I'm going to choose the one, the AMI with 9900A E12. So that was the final AMI. So that's the one I'm going to test, and then we can delete the rest later. So it looks like this is the final AMI, so we can click on that. So this will be the AMI that we are going to test. If it works out, then we can delete all the rest because they are not needed. All right, so now we have import export function. We've been able to convert our virtual machine image to Amazon machine image. So now we can test this by, we can launch EC2 from this AMI. We can give it a name, test, to see if it's working. You can go ahead, I will leave this as default. So here, since on the virtual machine we were logging in with username and password, you go ahead and select this. You want to log in without a key, and then here you can keep your default VPC. You can keep your default VPC, subnet, and all of those settings default, and then probably you may want to create a security group, and then you can go ahead and launch an instance to test. But in my case, I have a simple Terraform code that I'm going to use to test this. So in my current directory here, I'm going to cd into this directory. So in that directory, I have a couple of files here. I have VPC, and then so let me cd into that directory. So cd okay, so in here I have my VPC, which is a simple VPC with a public subnet which route internet through the internet gateway. And then I also have my security group, very simple here. I'm trying to keep it simple. And then I also have create machines. So here I'm creating an EC2 instance. I'm going to use the AMI that we just got from the conversion of the virtual machine image to AMI. That's the ID we are using here. And then just to keep it simple, we could have also used the data parameter to filter the AMI, but I want to keep things simple here. So I'll go ahead and save this. And then I'll do Terraform. Do Terraform init. Oh, finish my command. Do Terraform init to initialize and download the provider. I'll do Terraform plan to see what will be created. So this is the plan here. It's showing us 7 to be added. So we create a VPC, the subnet, the security groups, the route table association, and so on. So I'll go ahead and do Terraform plan so that I can go ahead and create Terraform apply so that to go ahead and create those resources for me. So I'll do auto approve. Right, so it started. See 7 resources have been added. Let's go to the UI. If I go to VPC, let me filter here. This is the name of my VPC. Right, so this is our VPC that we just created. We have one public subnet with a route table routes to the internet. So let me go back to EC2. Okay, so we have one EC2 instance here, which we have just created from AMI, and then it is still coming up. Right, so our EC2 instance is ready. So let's go ahead and see, test a couple of stuff here. First thing I'm going to check is if I can SSH into this EC2. So let me open my terminal from my local computer. So SSH, and then the name is tech with SO4. That's my username. And then the IP address, I'm using the public IP address here, so I'm trying to see if I can SSH into it. So I'm going to type yes, then it's asking me for a password. Okay, good, so it's working all right. So I've been able to SSH into a running instance. Now let's go ahead and check the web page. So let me copy the same IP address and see if I can see my web page. All right, so this is the web page. We can also view the web page. So we've gone through the process of migrating an AMI virtual machine, and I'm going to delete all the AMIs that we don't need here. As you can see here. Right, so we're going to use the final AMI, which is this one. So I'm going to delete all the rest. All right. right? So we don't need all of them. Let me go to volumes. Let me check. Okay, this is for the running one. We'll go to snapshot. I'm not sure which snapshot goes with which AMI, so I'm going to select all of them here, and then I'm going to try to delete. See, okay, good. So the one that has the AMI here, I know that will not be deleted, since if the AMI is not deleted here, then the snapshot will also not be deleted. So I know that this AMI goes with that snapshot. Okay, so we've cleaned up everything. So now we have just one AMI, which is coming from the virtual machine that we imported from on-prem to AWS. We tested our web server is running. We've been able to SSH into the virtual machine.